Hey there guys, Alex here, back again for another video. It's been a long time coming yet again. It's been I think over a month, and I apologise yet again. It's been another busy time for me, another busy few months, and yeah, really since the start of the year it's just been non-stop. On a 2-week break now actually for Easter, so I thought, you know, now was a great time to jump back in, make a few videos and just get some activity going, get something rolling, I guess, because I've just been seeing all you guys getting involved, posting videos on a regular basis, and having a great time with the community like I did last year. And I have to say I'm just getting a bit jealous really, to see all these people, you know, interacting and getting, as I say, getting involved, buying all these records and posting videos. It's just something I had such a great time doing last year. And it just seems like a shame that I've kind of fallen off the bandwagon and become so disjointed with it all. So, you know, these 2 weeks I'm just kind of going to commit some time to making videos, and haven't got any records to show. Been kind of toning down the buying recently, for the simple reason I have absolutely zero cash in the bank. Yeah, I only have a tiny Saturday job, and it barely pays for my my commuting to college every day. So you know, it's sad that I can't buy records as regularly as some of you guys, but then again, you know, I'm 18 years old, and I have plenty of years to, you know, get a job and settle down, and you know, have some money to spend on records. And to be honest, I'm lucky to have as many as I do. So yeah, I've been toning down on the buying. One thing I do want to do though is sell some stuff. I've got some Amazon Kindle to sell, and maybe my Xbox 360, because I do want to have some money set aside for Record Store Day, which is coming up, I think, 24th of April, about 3 weeks time anyway. So that was such a blast last year, you know, getting up early, heading down into town and buying a ton of records. It was one of the best days of the year, I have to say. So yeah, looking forward to that this year, and hopefully if I sell those two things, I'll have, you know, kind of 150, 200 pounds, some of which I will spend on records, and so I'll have some stuff to show you on that day. But apart from that, I'm gonna not really buy anything, just stay contented with the stuff that I have. One thing I have been doing is listening to a ton of music. You know, the stuff I do have, I've just been re-listening to on my new table, my new system. As you know, you guys know, I've had it now since Christmas, and it just sounds so good. I'm just absolutely falling in love with this whole system. You know, the speakers, the amp, and the table, all of the things together just produce one sound that I didn't even really know existed before. So it's just been great in that respect, having a chance to re-listen to these records on this system, and it's just, you know, sounding amazing. So thanks to everybody who kind of recommended the project, because it's certainly a table that I don't think I'm going to have to upgrade in a long time. Maybe some of the parts on it, but I don't think anything else. I'm not actually going to have to change the table for, well, hopefully a long time. So yeah, that's that. I want to say congratulations to Derek. That's one other thing I wanted to say. You know, I'm getting his album out on vinyl, Derek 3. Unbelievable achievement, man. I mean, to get anything out on vinyl must be incredibly tough. You know, and he's looks like he's got a pretty significant pressing there of records, and it looks like he's done a great job as well with the pressing. Everybody seems to be raving about it. So just an unbelievable job, Derek. And you know, as I said, I don't have any money whatsoever at the moment, but as soon as I do, if you have any left, then I'll have, you know, that'll be the first thing I buy, because I do want to get my hands on a copy of Derek 3. That'd be unbelievable. As I say, I watch pretty much all your videos and enjoy them immensely, and I haven't heard any of your music yet, apart from In Dreamer, the In Dreamer single. So I really hope that I can get my hands on one soon, but I know they're running out fast. So yeah, so apart from that, that's just kind of some housekeeping. I'm going to get on and do this now. Basically, I want to review some films, some Bob Dylan films. As you guys know, I started this channel off as kind of a Bob Dylan thing, and it evolved into me showing out you know, showing vinyl and becoming part of the community. But at the very start, I was reviewing just Bob Dylan stuff, some soundtracks and some other stuff that I had, you know, about him. And some people suggested back then that I do a review of some of these films. So I'll just go through them quickly. We've got No Direction Home, released in 2005, which I'm going to do today. Got I'm Not There, a movie by Todd Haynes, really interesting concept, movie with biopic, I guess, with all these actors playing the different guises, I guess, incarnations of Dylan. Really interesting film, want to review that one. And then these two here that were done actually at the time in the 60s. Of course we got Don't Look Back, released in 67, recorded in 65, first kind of major fly on the wall film. So yeah, that's one I want to do. And then the slightly more obscure Eat the Document from the year later, 66. This again done by D.A. Pennebaker. And you know, this is much more rough around the edges, very experimental. And you know, not to everybody's liking. It was put together by Dylan and Al Aronovitz, I think, you know, very haphazardly, and many people didn't like it. Most people didn't like it, to be honest, but I actually really enjoyed it. So maybe some of the hardcore Dylan fans out there will want me to review this, so I'm going to do this one, maybe at the same time as Don't Look Back. But yeah, I'm going to do this one today, No Direction Home, and this is the kind of, I'd say, only major documentary of Bob Dylan's life, certainly his early career, done by Martin Scorsese. I think in 2005 this was put out, and I picked it up back in 2009 along with the soundtrack. No Direction Home. This is the bootleg series volume 7, and yeah, just a great collection of songs on this. And yeah, picked it up back then, and back in, I think, 2009, sorry, so about 3 years ago, and watched it through a ton of times. I think since buying this, I must have watched it through maybe 5 to 10 times altogether. And it's, I think, over 3 hours. I might be wrong about that, it might be under 3 hours, but I know it's certainly a good lengthy film. And this was really, I have to say, the first thing that turned me on to Dylan big time. You know, I watched these kind of videos on YouTube of him singing Blown in the Wind and Miss Tambourine Man, and that got me hooked originally. But after buying this and watching it through, I was absolutely inspired. I have to say, you know, I went out and bought all of his kind of you know, major releases, his most famous CDs, just scouted the internet for everything I could find on Bob Dylan, and just accumulated all this information on him after watching this film. It was definitely the film that kind of captured my imagination, and it's incredibly informative but also incredibly entertaining, and I think any Dylan fan has to watch this. It's an absolute essential, and any rock fan of rock music in general, anyone interested in the history of the 60s and popular music in the 60s, this is something you definitely have to see. Scorsese does an amazing job. The first thing I'll talk about is the music. Obviously the music is put together very nicely on this soundtrack, which I reviewed actually back in 2010, I think, a long time ago. But I reviewed this, and I'll talk about the music quickly. It's all authentic Bob Dylan. And this has 28 songs on it. I say there's probably more than that actually on the disc. And you have some great footage, obviously, of Dylan singing the songs. But you've got everything from very, very early Dylan, from kind of, they got home recording from 1959, which is kind of one of the earliest known recordings of Dylan's voice. I think they might even have like the recording of the Dylan did at his school in like 1958 or something, when he was like really into Little Richard, and he was kind of rocking out. This is way before the kind of folk kicked in, and he went to New York, and well, actually he got the folk bug in Minneapolis, I think, playing like the Purple Onion and stuff. But yeah, that was before all of that stuff, and he was playing rock and roll. And he really kind of sucked. That was the thing. He really wasn't very good at playing this stuff. And the curtain was actually pulled on Dylan when he played to his school assembly. And you know, no one thought he could make it. And obviously he went on to do amazing things. But they got that, you know, they got that performance, and they just go through like kind of the early stuff before he became famous, playing like the Greenwich Village coffee houses of the Café Noir and the Gaslight. Some really historic footage and you know, material there to seek, you know, kind of sink your teeth into. And then you got kind of the historic Newport footage and the songs that he did there, and it's just amazing to me watching that footage, that how much he evolved. I mean, come on, like in '63, he was just a completely different artist to the artist he was in '65 and '66. Just watching him perform, he's so charismatic in '63, so forthcoming, and interacts with the audience, makes them laugh, and he's just a really kind of cheeky kid, kind of you know, doesn't really appear to know anything about anything. He's just kind of doing his thing, and you know, making people smile. And then you go forward a couple of years, and he's, you know, turning it up and going electric in Newport. Obviously, that's on this, you know, that's documented on this, and they talk about it for quite a while. And one of them are kind of defining moments in rock history, recent rock history. Him going electric there, and it's kind of the pivotal moment where he just changes direction completely, and goes off and does this amazing stuff. Releases Highway 61 and Blonde on Blonde, and you know, he never looks back from there. He's just a completely different artist from then on, and you know, it's just amazing to see the stark contrast in the different footage from those years that were very close to each other. You know, it's amazing to me how much he changed in such a short period of time. But you've got some great stuff on here, like Mr. Tambourine Man, done at the Newport Folk Festival in '64, and that's an amazing performance, just incredible. And then obviously you've got the world tour material that Scorsese took from Eat the Document, and that's just some of the greatest footage of live music I've ever seen. It's something I think everyone has to see. It's just whirlwind, explosive stuff that's just blows me away every time I see it, to be honest. So yeah, musically this is you know, this is five star. This is, you know, you can't really get much better than the music that you get on this. Scorsese picked some amazing stuff to put on it. But moving on to the actual content of the film, basically what he does, Scorsese, is he you know, there's no commentary over the top of the footage or anything. There doesn't need to be, because what he does is he intertwines the live footage, which is very, very interesting in itself, with all these interviews that he does with the famous people that kind of knew Dylan back in the 60s. People like Joan Baez, Suze Rotolo, Bob Johnston, who produced the Blonde on Blonde albums, D.A. Pennebaker, Peter Yarrow from Peter, Paul and Mary, and of course Dylan himself does, you know, an interview, and you know, he contributes quite a big part to this, tells many of his own stories. But you just got these people telling their own stories of different parts of Dylan's career, and it's just really fascinating. You know, they don't need anything else, because these people just have so many stories to tell. And what is really made prominent in this film is Dylan's involvement in his political involvement in how he was portrayed as a protest singer in the early '60s, and how he kind of shattered that image. And I think that's really the main message of this film that Scorsese wanted to say, is that, you know, he was seen as this hero and this folk troubadour that was gonna, you know, produce all these answers to these world problems, but he wasn't really interested. And it's evident by the second disc that, you know, that Dylan really just didn't want to know anymore. He wanted to do his music, and that's all he wanted to do, really. He wasn't interested in all this political stuff, and he just understood that, you know, music, although it could influence people, it couldn't change the world. It couldn't solve the problems that, you know, that these huge problems that faced society in the '60s. And although he was portrayed as that, he never really accepted it, and he wanted to shatter that image of himself, and just set out on a whole new path, and that's what this film is about. But yeah, so So that's what the first disc is kind of centered in on and focused on, is Dylan's kind of political involvement and how he's portrayed as this kind of poster boy for the left wing, people, and how people thought he could change the world with his songs and his music, but in reality, what he actually thought was that he thought it was ridiculous. He wasn't interested in that. He was interested in his music and taking his music forward, and they do a great job on the first disc of kind of showing that, showing it from the people's point of view, the fans' point of view, but also from Dylan's point of view. And the first disc focuses very much on his early, his kind of rise to fame in 62, 63. His meeting with Dave Van Ronk, who they have interviews with Dave Van Ronk and Liam Clancy from the Clancy Brothers, which is fascinating to hear their kind of take on it all. And then his kind of as I say, his political his rise to kind of political power, I guess, and they got some great stuff on there, and the really great thing about this film is I don't think Dylan is misinterpreted in it. There's so many things out there where people still don't kind of get it. People still don't get what Dylan thought about it all, and what the reality of the situation actually was, and that's that Dylan was more interested in his music and how he could take that forward, and how much his lyrics actually changed from writing, Hard Rain's Gonna Fall to writing Desolation Row. I mean, that kind of development artistically is the thing that needs to be captured and needs to be remembered, because it's just incredible to me how someone could go from writing, those Masters of War and Hard Rain's Gonna Fall to writing things like Desolation Row and Visions of Johanna, those kind of vivid, conceptual songs that are just some of my favorite of all time. So that's what the first disc is all about. Those early years up until kind of 64, and then the second disc starts off with some 66 footage, but then flashes back 3 years earlier to the Civil Rights March, and they do a bit more on the kind of political side of things, and then they kind of move forward from there to talk a bit about the albums, those mid-60s albums that he did with Bringing It All Back Home, do some interviews on that, and talk about that album and the making of it, and then the same for Highway 61 Revisited. And it's fascinating to hear the kind of producers' take on those albums, and the people that worked in the sessions, like Al Cooper and Mike Bloomfield. He's not interviewed, but he's talked about in the film, and how those albums kind of came to be. They do a lot of talking about those, the kind of process of putting the albums together, which is fascinating. And then they move on from that to the world tour and talk about how that how that was received, and obviously people kind of hated it when Dylan went electric, and many fans just kind of walked out of the shows, just absolutely disgusted with how this kind of folk troubadour, as I say, could portray them that way, and abandon everything that had come before that, and come on with this kind of radical electric sound, they talk a lot about that and the controversy that surrounded Dylan in '66, but the second disc I'd say is more about the footage. You got some great interviews in there as well, but the footage is worth it alone. I mean, the '66 footage is, I think, unmatched from anything else I've seen, and it's they got some amazing performances of some of the songs, just like Tom Thumb's Blues, Like a Rolling Stone, Leopard Skin Pillbox Hat. All of that great stuff, and it just really tells a story in itself, and that's what the second disc is all about. And it really ends on an absolute high, with the Judas shout in the Manchester Free Trade Hall in '66, when one of the crowds shouts Judas, and the famous incident where Dylan says, I don't believe you, you're a liar, and then turns to the band and says, play it fucking loud, and then they kick into like a Rolling Stone, and it's just a spine-tingling moment. It's one of those moments that's kind of defining in Dylan's history, and that's how the movie ends, and I think it just, it's a great way to go out with that. But that moves on to the kind of some of the techniques that Scorsese uses in this film, and he's kind of quite quirky with it. He obviously has these interviews running throughout the film, and it's the film starts off with just a kind of blank slow motion shot of someone filming out the window. It's a black and white, really grainy footage, and it's like during a hailstorm or a snowstorm, and it's just a slow moving car with the windscreen wipers going back and forth, kind of almost like a metronome. It's like it's really kind of it's kind of haunting, quite a haunting image. And you've got Dylan talking over that about his very early, his beginnings in Minnesota, and how everything was so cold and you couldn't do anything, and it was just kind of a place where nothing was happening, and there didn't seem to be anything to dream about and anything to strive for. And then it cuts straight from that to the most explosive version of Like a Rolling Stone you could possibly think of from Newcastle in 1966, and it's kind of amazing how they could contrast that, that image of kind of nothingness, and go from that to obviously where Dylan ended up, playing these concert halls, and just showing that he'd kind of made it. He started out somewhere with really no opportunities, as I say, nothing to aim for, in town where people just grew up to be whatever the town provided them with, that whether that be mining or working in a store or something, and it just showed that he'd gone from that, and he'd made it. He'd gone from there. He'd gone to New York, and he'd made it big time. And it's just, again, it's kind of takes you back when you see that, and it's just one of the techniques that Scorsese uses. He uses it throughout the film, and at the start of the second disc as well. With Dylan kind of improvising with this poetry in streets of London in '66, and then goes to him playing this concert hall, and then it flashes back 3 years earlier to the Civil Rights March in Washington, and him playing Blowing in the Wind, and again it's just kind of a stark contrast there of the two environments, and it's just amazing how Scorsese does it. Keeps you kind of interested, keeps you entertained, and it makes you just kind of keep wanting to watch, and it's definitely something that he uses in the film to keep people interested. But I'm not going to talk anymore. That's about all I have to say on this. But this is an amazing film. As I say, it kind of got me into Dylan in the first place. Properly, it really inspired me to check out all of his stuff. So if you haven't seen this and you're a Dylan fan, you need to see it. If you're not a Dylan fan but looking, maybe to get into him, then this is a great place to start if you want to learn a bit about his history. And just the footage alone on this is worth, I think, every penny. You don't really need anything else. You just need to see the footage, and you'll understand why this man is regarded so highly in the world of rock and roll. And yeah. That's No Direction Home. As I say, I want to come back on and do the rest of these films. I'm going to do these two maybe in one video, and then I'm Not There is probably the next one I'll do. But apart from that, that's about it, guys. Keep up the great work. You've been doing a great job. Everybody has been in the community, posting some great stuff, and keep it going, because I'm learning every single day as always. So yeah. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon with another video. Cheers, guys.